Hey guys, so this week I've been playing Kingdoms of Amalur, Klingons of Azerbaijan, whatever you want to call it. It's a new game coming out on the Xbox, PlayStation, PC, all of them. Designed by the studio set up by Kurt Schilling, the baseball player, I guess? I don't know, I didn't watch sports. Who cares about sports? Video games are better! So anyways, it's a game, it's out, it's brand new. Is it any good? Is it worth picking up? Is it too much like every other game that's come out? Is it, I mean, in this world where we have Skyrim, do we need another open world RPG? Well, here's my opinion, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is the first game from 38 Studios and boasts some really impressive names behind it. With people like Todd McFarlane and R.A. Salvatore behind it, this game had quite a lot of buzz going for it. The game clearly has a lot of impressive people with their hands in it, but what's it about? Essentially, the story is that there's this war going on between these bad guys and the rest of the world. Bad guys all believe that there's some like new god gonna show up and wreck everything and it's gonna be awesome, and that's why they're fighting everybody. And things are falling apart and everybody's dying and just things generally suck. And that's where your dead body comes in. You see, your character starts off as dead, and then they're like, hey, this guy's dead, throw him in a corpse pile, and then you wake up in the corpse pile and you're like, oh, what happened, where am I? Then you go talk to these gnomes and you're like, hey bro, what's the deal? And he's like, oh dude, I'll totally tell you what, oh god, well, look over there. Then you're running away from bad guys and you don't know why you're the way you are. Then you find out that you have no fate, because in this game, fate is like a tangible thing, where everybody has a fate that can be read and has a destiny, except you don't. So now you gotta spend the rest of the game finding out what the hell you are and what's wrong with you and trying to stop the evil bad guys. I try and make those story intro parts shorter, but there's so much story in this game. When they say that they've invented a whole new world for you to explore, they weren't kidding. They invented a whole new world for you to explore with all kinds of stuff. Anything you could possibly want to know about this game is in there. You can listen to all the dialogue and get all into the lore and read all the books and all the lore stones and all that stuff. Or not, if you're not into all that story stuff.
To the Fae, but it has found its way to the boughs of the world tree.
Oh my god, I don't care, I don't
The
care, I
time
don't
of the
care,
Fae
I
is
don't care,
past
I
the
don't care,
guns
I
where
don't
you
care, I
tread,
don't
you
care,
mock
skip it.
all.
Gameplay-wise, it's pretty traditional RPG stuff. You got a character, you play the game, you get experience points for killing dudes, and you get gear and stuff, and you level up and build your abilities and all that stuff. The combat seems slightly button mashy when you first get into it, because you're like, hey, you've got a sword, press X to use your sword. But there are actual combos in the game, it's not like press up, down, left, right. It's like press X, and then don't press X until he finishes his animation, and press X again and he does the combo. And your character has a primary and a secondary weapon, so you got X for your sword and Y for your whatever else. There's an impressive array of different weapons that you can use throughout the game that all have their different feels. But the combat feels very similar to if you've ever played Fable. You know, you hit X to use your sword, throw a magic lightning bolt at them, you know, use your shield, dodge out of the way, that kind of stuff. One of the really interesting aspects of the gameplay that I wish more RPGs would do is the idea that your character is fateless, so you don't have a fate, you can choose whatever you want to do. And similar to Fable or Skyrim and other RPGs, you know, basically that means that if you want to be a mage, you can be a mage. If you want to wield a sword or an axe or whatever you want to do, you can do that just by doing it. But what's interesting about this game is that at any point in the game, you can just decide, you know what, I'm tired of being a rogue. I want to be a mage now. So you can just go to a Fate Weaver, pay some money, and you can completely redesign your character based on whatever you feel like. You can also build a hybrid character. You can be sort of a mage that wears heavy armor and carries a big sword or whatever. And there's no real class system. Basically, you just pick whichever destiny card you want, then that kind of aims you towards a sort of class, but you can switch the card whenever you level up or whenever you go to Fate Weaver, and there are supplementary cards and whatever. In terms of the questing, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of lands to explore, a lot of different quests. Besides the story quests, there's also faction quests that are all pretty cool, and then side quests, which are usually like, hey, go kill that thing, or go get me this. There's just a lot of different quests to do, so you'll be spending hours and hours and hours upon this, and also there's a ton of different gear that you can get, you know, dungeons you can explore, all that stuff. There's also a really nice crafting system. You can build your own armor, build potions, all that stuff. One of the only real drawbacks is the inventory system can be kind of annoying, because it's just like, hey, here's a list of every piece of armor you own. Find the one you want. Apart from that, the game is incredibly solid. It just doesn't take too many risks with its gameplay. I'd love to see them do a sequel and innovate stuff, add something really crazy or new, but as a first game in a series, it's very solid. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is a fun game. You get your money's worth when you buy it, definitely. But it doesn't do anything all that crazy or different. It doesn't stand out, but it just does everything really well, which I think is what saves it in the end. Because even though it's not all that different from anything else you've played, you know, if you played Fable or World of Warcraft or Skyrim or any RPG, you can definitely tell where it takes its influences. But it does it all well. There's nothing about this game that's like, oh, if only they had more time. No, they did everything they intended to do, and they did it all really well. None of it's amazing, none of it will blow you away, but it's fun, and you definitely get your money's worth when you buy it.